Recognizing the Minister of Forests.
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. It's always a pleasure to hear the member from Peace River South speak. Lots of eloquence, and obviously, while we differ on many perspectives, it's always great to hear about his perspectives coming from industry as well, and I think that's important. I've always appreciated the time that I've gotten the chance to spend with him. It's a great privilege to be able to rise in this House, and I want to do so by acknowledging that I'm honored to be here on the territories of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. I want to acknowledge the shared territories where my riding, Langford Highlands, is from, the Shianu First Nation, Sauk, Pachudat, and Malahat First Nations as well, and thank them for the honor and privilege of being able to live, play, and work on these beautiful territories here in southern Vancouver Island. It's a real pleasure to be able to rise in this House and talk about this important piece of legislation, Bill 31, the Energy Statutes Amendment Act, and begin by thanking the Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions for the leadership that he has provided in this role to be able to bring forward a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation piece of legislation that speaks to once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation project that will deliver prosperity, deliver jobs, and opportunity for all British Columbians. And that's certainly what I want to touch on in the time that I have to be able to speak. This is a project that I expect it does not come up on the doorsteps in Langford Highlands in the days and weeks ahead when I get back outdoor knocking. But I think in the time that I have to speak in my capacity as Minister of Forests, but also more importantly, in my capacity as the representative for the people of Langford Highlands, I want to talk about what this project means for the people of Langford Highlands, for all British Columbians, for people in the north. And I think in the context of what's going on in our country right now, for all Canadians as well. As the Minister referenced in his remarks when he opened debate just before lunch, for one generation, it was the construction of hydro dams. For another, it was railways that connected all of our communities. And here we are. Here we have an opportunity right now where we are talking about clean energy infrastructure, a superpower for us here in British Columbia that I believe with this project, the North Coast Transmission Line, is going to define the next century here in British Columbia. The ability for us to be able to create good paying jobs, family supporting jobs, and the prosperity that is going to deliver for people all across this province, all across this country. I've had the opportunity and the privilege as the Minister of Forests to get the opportunity to tour parts of the northwest of our province. I often joke that I visited in the winter, prepared for it to be very cold, and it was +4 the entire time. And so I always joke with the Mayor of Terrace and Mayor Smithers that if it can be +4 in the winter anytime, I'll be there. I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to the cold weather. But the Northwest, without a doubt, like much of the North, as I visited my colleague from the Northeast, faces many barriers and challenges, huge challenges. We've talked about it in relation to forestry and curtailments of mills, closure of pulp mills. There was a time when there was booming pulp mills in the northwest of our province. The same can be said for forestry in the Northeast as well, in relation to mills operating there. And so here we have an opportunity to talk about a piece of legislation that, from my perspective, and those on this side of the House, really has the opportunity to be able to build and allow us, in a time where we are facing arguably the most serious economic threat our province has ever faced, certainly in my lifetime. Here's an opportunity for us to be able to stand up on our own 2 feet and make sure that we're able to deliver that prosperity that I think we all want for our families, for our communities, for our province and our country. There is extraordinary potential in northern British Columbia, but in particular in the case of Northwest BC, for critical minerals for mining, the ability to be able to open up multiple mines. We're not talking about one mine, we're talking about multiple mines. The ability for LNG, as the member said, the cleanest, greenest LNG in the world is found here in British Columbia, and that is something that I am very proud of, as is the member opposite. but also the opportunity for forestry, for value-added manufacturing. There used to be a real strong hub of forestry in northwestern British Columbia, but after destructive policy changes in 2003, when we removed appurtenancy, we saw those forestry jobs and that processing capacity leave northwestern British Columbia. And I hope there is an ability for us to be able to rebuild that. In addition to value-added manufacturing of all kinds, there is huge potential here. And again, it's been a great honor and privilege for me as an MLA and as a Minister of Forests to get the opportunity to be able to visit many of those communities that I never thought in a million years, Madam Speaker, that I would get the pleasure of being able to visit and see the beauty that is British Columbia and see the people of British Columbia hard at work delivering that prosperity. This is what, in my eyes, the project, the North Coast Transmission Line, has the potential and will deliver. You can't, as a Minister of Mining will know, you can't process minerals or produce hydrogen, LNG on diesel forever. Here is the potential for us to do that with clean, green electricity, and that's what this project delivers, is that ability to be able to create those jobs. I want to talk a bit about, and had an opportunity as I was hearing the member across the way speak, jot down some notes about what I believe this project can deliver for British Columbians. First, I think it's obvious from the conversations so far, this is going to bring reliable, clean, green power to the northwest of this province, which is something that has been a hurdle for growth in the northwest of our province. It's going to enable electrification and help us reduce our emissions. We are dealing with the threats of climate change all the time, and here is an opportunity for us to be able to lead with a major project that still allows us to be able to electrify and reduce our emissions. And it is evident when we talk about the North Coast Transmission Line, we are talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs created in construction, and we are talking about long-standing jobs that will result with billions in investments. This project, fourth piece of it, as I was hearing the member across the way speak in the Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions, this project opens the door for billions of dollars in activity in the northwest of our province here in British Columbia. New private sector investment. This is the ability for the private sector to step up, come in, and for us to open the doors wide open and say, make your investments here in British Columbia, create good paying jobs here in BC. And I think to wrap it all up, this project, the North Coast Transmission Line, the work that we're doing with this legislation before the House, this has the ability to be able to create that long-term economic security that I would argue we probably all hear as members of this House from our communities. Surprised 9 minutes in I haven't mentioned his name yet, but Donald Trump and the threat he has put on our province, on our country, on the entire world. Minister of Jobs often talks about how during the first term of Trump's presidency, his goal was to build a wall between his country, the United States, and Mexico. Second term of his presidency, he is building a wall around the United States to keep everything away from the United States. This is a project, the North Coast Transmission Line, that is a game changer, not just for northwestern British Columbia, not just for the north of BC, not just for British Columbia alone, Madam Speaker. This is a project that is a game changer for all of Canada. And as the Minister has said a number of times in this House and outside of this House, as the Premier has said in countless visits to Ottawa and at press conferences, this is a project that is in the national interest. This is a nation-building project. This is a project that should be outlined very clearly by the Prime Minister as a nation-building project and should be referred to the Major Projects Office. We spend an awful lot of time, Madam Speaker, talking about fictional projects like fictional pipelines, where you got $14 million set up by the government of Alberta to create more of a PR company than to actually deliver jobs and prosperity. This is a project that delivers jobs. This is a project that delivers prosperity. It is not fictional, it is real, and it is going to happen because here you have a government that is focused, that is determined, and ready to bring it forward. And that is something that excites me. And that's what excites me for the ability to be able to speak to this project. As I touched upon in my earlier remarks, this project is about delivering economic opportunity and regional growth. I want to again highlight the important work that is already happening in the northwest of our province, but also the potential for more. I used to be a staffer, now a minister. I've planned many travels. I've spoken to a lot of people about the northwest. I have yet to visit Prince Rupert. I have always got the open invitation from my colleague, the Minister of the Environment, and I look forward to doing that in the days and weeks ahead. I feel like I fully understand Prince Rupert because I've learned so much about it, but it's one thing to read about it in a book or to listen to someone on a Zoom call. It's another thing to have boots on the ground. Prince Rupert is an economic hub, not just for British Columbia, but for Canada. And what this project means is access to power for a community like Prince Rupert. This project means expanding port capacity. I believe that the Port of Prince Rupert, which is already an economic hub, has the ability to become the greenest trade hub in the entire world. This project sets the Port of Prince Rupert up for success. Across the Northwest, as my colleague, the Minister of Mining, talks about, this project has the ability to attract new investments in critical minerals that Canadians not only rely on, but the entire world, including the United States, relies on. This is what this project is all about. In the context of forestry, Madam Speaker, I want to highlight a particular project that I think has the ability to be able to benefit from this project, and that is the work that the Kitsim-Kalim First Nations are doing. Skeena Sawmills went bankrupt not too long ago, went through bankruptcy proceedings, and who stepped up and purchased Skeena Sawmills without a dime from government was a First Nations called the Kitsim-Kalim First Nations. The member from the Fourth Party may want to take note of this. The Kitsim-Kalim First Nations stepped up. They took the investments that they've made in other projects and other economic opportunities, and they bailed the Northwest out. They bailed the town of Terrace out. They went in on their own and purchased the tenure and purchased that aging, decrepit mill called Skeena Sawmills. And they have made the commitment by pouring the investments into that purchase to say that we are not only going to create jobs for our residents, we are going to create jobs and prosperity for Terrace and the entire northwest of our province. That is First Nations not sitting on the sidelines, Madam Speaker. That is First Nations saying we want to create jobs, not just for our members, but for every British Columbian. I am so proud to work with the Kitsim-Kalim First Nations. They have gone above and beyond as a nation in wanting to serve the entire province, to want to create that prosperity. Chief Troy Sam and I often have conversations. I'm actually hoping he's going to be joining me on my trade mission to Japan next month to talk about the potential for his mill when it is back up and operating to be able to be a trade destination for the Japanese and for South Korea as well. Chief Sam is a visionary. Diana Collins is one of his lead project managers on this, is a visionary. This is the type of work that they're doing to be able to benefit people in the Northwest, and this project gives them hope. That mill is old. I've had a chance to visit it, Madam Speaker, and one of the biggest hurdles is the state of that mill and the ability that that nation has to want to get it back up and operating, because they're harvesting every single day. And it's a very difficult land base to go out and harvest. I think about 60 to 70% of much of their territory is pulp logs, which does not bode well, especially when you look at the price of pulp logs these days and you don't have the capacity for production right now. And so they are stepping up. And so when I think of this legislation, the North Coast Transmission Line, and I know we talk about mining in relation to this project, I know we talk about LNG, I'm thinking about forestry and the potential to be able to rebuild our forest sector that declined when the BC Liberals were in charge on this side of the House. I'm talking about the potential for us to be able to create those good-paying jobs in forestry once again. There are hard-working loggers working in the northwest of our province every single day. We want to create an opportunity for them to be able to take those logs and not send them out of this province, not send them out as raw logs, but to process those and to be able to create world-class wood products closer to home. I am so excited about that. I am so excited about the leadership that the Kitsim-Kalim First Nations are showing. Again, I have to reiterate it again, because we often hear in this House criticisms of First Nations, slowing us down. You hear really ruthless remarks from the One BC party, but here you have First Nations that is leading the way, that is making investments that are not just benefiting them, but benefiting all British Columbians. That makes me proud to be able to work with a guy like Chief Sam and to be able to work with the Kitsim First Nations. This project is about building the backbone for an entire industry, the clean energy economy for Northern British Columbia and the entire country. I think there's potential when we talk about the relationship with Alberta. There's potential when we talk about the relationship with Yukon. This project, as I've said a number of times inside this House and out, this is a nation-building project. The partnerships with First Nations, seeing the benefits in forestry that I've had. There was a time when, Madam Speaker, First Nations would be sitting off on the sidelines, seeing harvesting activities happen in their territories, not getting the opportunity to be a part of those, to reap the benefits from those, to see people come in 30, 40, 50 years ago and just go out and clear cut and gut the land, and for them to face the consequences of what comes afterwards. I am proud to be the Minister of Forests here in British Columbia that just saw not too long ago 20% of the tenure here in British Columbia in the hands of First Nations. And these are nations that are leading the way in forestry. These are nations that I think of my friend Chief Lindsay Ty from the Shakin Indian Band, who is creating good paying jobs in Merritt and the Nicola Valley region. I think of Chief George Lampro, who is leading the way in a visionary approach to forestry, bringing people together. When I think of Chief Lampro, I think of a true leader who is not just focused on his nation, but he is focused on the entire Thompson-Nicola Valley region. My opposition critic from Kamloops, North Thompson, and I often talk about what it would be like if Chief Lampro was in charge of this province. Things would be moving, I'm sure, even quicker, because he has that vision, and it excites me for the ability to be able to work with him. And I know he is excited about projects like this and projects that create the ability for us to be able to lift people up, and that's what this is about. But also, I think it's important for us to acknowledge the important work that goes into environmental stewardship, the protection of salmon, the protection of caribou, and also other critical habitats as well. I am very proud of the work that goes on in my ministry. I know the Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship is as well, of the work that we're doing to protect our land base as well, the work that we're doing on preserving 30% of our land base by 2030. This is work that has been happening over the course of our time in government, because it matters. There is economic benefits that come from this environmental stewardship, but there's also so much work that goes on in ensuring that future generations get the opportunity to benefit from this as well. First Nations have told me in my visits throughout British Columbia that access to power is the foundation for economic prosperity. I heard that loud and clear from nations in the Northwest. This is what this project delivers for them. And again, from my perspective, and I think all members on this side of the House would agree, and I hope most of the members on the other side, I know the leader of the Fourth Party will not agree with this. This legislation is an act of reconciliation. This legislation is about shared prosperity. There is a leader in this House. It's a sad excuse that that leader is recognized as a political party, should not be a political party in this House, but this is about shared prosperity. This is about reconciliation. This is about building all of us up. We cannot afford to go backwards. That's what happens when we elect people to sit in this House that want to take us backwards. And I think it is upon all of us as legislators to ensure that someone like the leader of the Fourth Party never gets the opportunity to sit on this side of the House. I know I will make it my mission in life for as long as I am breathing and living in British Columbia to ensure that that person over there never sits on this side of the House, because this is about reconciliation. This is about shared prosperity. This is about building each other up. And this is what the North Coast Transmission Line is all about, something I'm very excited about. I want to talk about workers and communities, Madam Speaker, in the time that I have left. I want to talk about the fact that every major project in British Columbia must create prosperity for our province. I want to talk about the good-paying jobs that this project will create, the apprenticeship programs, the local hiring opportunities. This project will put British Columbians to work. And I think of those that have been working on the pipeline. I think of those that have been working on LNG Canada Phase 1. I think of those that were working, as the member opposite touched on in his constituency, on Site C. I'm thinking about the electricians, the heavy equipment operators, the engineers, the technicians. This is going to have a lasting economic ripple effect in the entire province of British Columbia, in the entire country. I'm not just thinking about those jobs. I'm particularly excited about those jobs because I've got a little brother that made the decision to go in the trades. And I think of people like him and his friends that are in the trades right now. When they see projects like this, I think of the people in the IBEW, I think of the BC building trades that have been long, strong advocates for creating these opportunities for prosperity for their membership. I want to thank Bryn Burke and the BC building trades for holding us accountable, for supporting our government and making sure that we can bring forward legislation like this that creates good-paying jobs for their members. Jobs that will not just benefit those living in the northwest of our province, but I think of people in all of our ridings will get the opportunity to be able to go up and work on this project. Every mill, every facility that connects to clean electricity instead of diesel cuts greenhouse gases. This is what climate action looks like, Madam Speaker. This is not just tangible. Tangible results in the case of setting targets. This is real action that we as a government are taking in building the economy moving forward, and that's something that I'm very excited about. I'll just conclude with this, Madam Speaker. In my conversations in the northwest of this province, but I'm going to extend it all over the place. I've had the privilege of getting the opportunity as the Minister of Forests to be able to visit almost every corner of this province. But from the north, that often feels very disconnected from government for obvious reasons. We don't spend enough time in the north. I often say that to my colleagues. We need to get out and spend more time in communities. I particularly want to thank the member from Peace River South for the time that he spent with me in his community, as well as the member from Peace River North. That was a real eye-opener for me, getting a chance to be able to visit their communities, right from Fort Nelson and getting a chance to do the drive, right from Fort St. John to Fort Nelson and all the way back down, and getting a chance to visit the beautiful province that is British Columbia, but also get to meet the people that make up this province as well. And I've heard from people in the north, mayors, chiefs, business owners, workers, young people, that they want to be a part of the clean energy future that we're building here in British Columbia. They don't want this to be something just for the Lower Mainland or just for the island. They want this to be something that brings our entire province together. This project, the North Coast Transmission Line, is our answer to that call, is our answer to their call of wanting to come together to be able to build what is going to be a major project, not just for our province, for our entire country. As the Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions acknowledged in his remarks, as I think of this project, I think back to the leaders that once sat in this House. I think of W.A.C. Bennett, former Premier of this province for decades, who, as the Minister touched on, is a big reason why we have the success with BC Hydro. I think of one of my predecessors, Dave Barrett, who had the opportunity to represent much of the West Shore from Esquimalt all the way out to Port Renfrew, and the work that he did, and the leaders that sat in this House during those periods in the 60s and 70s when we were building those major projects. Here we have the opportunity to look to the path forward. I often talk about this in the context of forestry Madam Speaker, but I want to talk about this not just in the context of forestry, but for everything as it relates to the natural resources sector and to our province and to our economy moving forward, especially in the context of what we're dealing with Donald Trump's presidency. Here we have an opportunity before us. We have an opportunity and a path forward. There are people that are trying to take us backwards, without a doubt, and we all know who they are. But here we have the ability to build the path forward for us. And I think for British Columbians, many of them are asking themselves right now, the path forward is rocky, without a doubt, it is rocky. But I think there's many British Columbians right now who don't know what the path forward is. And I want them to know that with the North Coast Transmission Line, this is just one major initiative that we are building to ensure that we can have that strong path forward, that we don't go backwards, that we move forward in a way that creates good-paying jobs for British Columbians, that provides the prosperity that our economy needs to be successful in every corner of this province, the prosperity that gives young people hope to know that when they're going to school in the trades, that they're going to have good-paying jobs. They're not going to get layoff notices project after project, but they are going to have the ability to be able to create a good life for themselves, a life where they can work hard, be successful, and live a really good life, where they can raise a family, buy a home, and live a life that everyone is proud of. That is the hope that I have and the people of Langford Highlands. That is a hope that I know that all of us have on this side of the House for the people of British Columbia. The North Coast Transmission Line has the potential to build prosperity and to build the economic engine that our province is, and to ensure that our province will be the economic engine of our new Canada. This is the work that we're doing on this side of the House. This is the work I'm excited about. I'm excited about the potential that the North Coast Transmission Line has. Once again, I want to thank the Minister of Energy and Climate Solutions for his leadership that he's shown in this House, for being able to come and tackle big problems and to be able to come forward and bring solutions to the table. To the people of Langford Highlands, you may not know right now what the North Coast Transmission Line is, but I want you to know, when you think about the North Coast Transmission Line, I want you to think of two things: jobs and prosperity. Jobs for people in British Columbia, jobs for Canadians, and prosperity for all of us. Prosperity that delivers for families, and prosperity that ensures that we can pay for the services that all British Columbians rely on. New schools, health care for all. Madam Speaker, that's what this project is all about. Thanks very much for the opportunity to be able to speak to Bill 31. I hope all members of the House will support Bill 31 and ensure that we can build those jobs, build that prosperity for all British Columbians. Thanks very much.